Hello, everyone, and welcome to EnglishCraft. Sit back, relax, and let's improve your English together.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the English Podcast. My name is Emma, and I'm really happy you're here today. If you're learning English, I hope this story helps you relax while improving your listening skills. Today, I'd like to talk about my hobbies. I have several things I enjoy doing in my free time, but one of the most special hobbies in my life is playing the piano. So, make yourself comfortable, and let's begin. My interest in the piano started when I was a child. I remember visiting my aunt one weekend and seeing a large piano in her living room. It looked beautiful and a little mysterious to me. I sat down in front of it and slowly pressed one of the keys. Then I pressed another one. Of course, I had no idea what I was doing, but I loved the sound. I spent almost an hour playing random notes and pretending that I was a famous musician. My aunt laughed and told me that maybe I should learn how to play properly. A few months later, my parents found a piano teacher for me. I was excited before my first lesson, but I was also quite nervous. I imagined that I would immediately learn a beautiful song. Instead, my teacher showed me how to sit correctly and explained the names of the notes. I remember thinking, when are we going to play real music? Everything seemed much slower than I expected. My first songs were very simple. Sometimes I played only a few notes with one hand. I had to repeat the same part again and again until I could play it without making a mistake. At first, this was frustrating. My fingers didn't always do what I wanted them to do, and I often pressed the wrong key. When I started using both hands, everything became even more difficult. My left hand wanted to follow my right hand, and my brain felt completely confused. There were days when I didn't want to practice at all. I wanted to watch television, go outside, or simply do something easier. My teacher always told me that 15 or 20 minutes of practice was better than doing nothing. So I started practicing for a short time every day. Slowly, I noticed a difference. Songs that had seemed impossible became easier, and my fingers started moving more naturally across the keys. I still remember the first song I learned from beginning to end. It wasn't a difficult piece, but I was incredibly proud of myself. I played it for my parents in our living room. I was so nervous that my hands were shaking a little. I made 2 small mistakes, but I continued playing. When I finished, my parents smiled and applauded. That moment made me realize how much I enjoyed sharing music with other people. As I got older, my taste in music changed. I started listening to film music and beautiful piano covers of popular songs. I especially love slow and emotional melodies. Sometimes I hear a song in a movie and immediately search for a piano version online. If I really like it, I try to learn it myself. It can take days or even weeks, but the feeling when I finally play the whole song is amazing. Playing the piano is also one of my favorite ways to relax. When I've had a difficult day or feel tired after work, I sometimes sit at the piano and play for a while. I don't always practice a specific song. Sometimes I simply play melodies that I already know. I stop thinking about messages, problems, and things I need to do. For those few minutes, I focus only on the music. Of course, I'm not a professional pianist, and I still make plenty of mistakes. Sometimes I forget a part of a song that I've played many times before. Sometimes my fingers suddenly press the wrong keys, and I have to stop and laugh at myself. But I think that's completely normal. A hobby doesn't have to be something you do perfectly. You can simply enjoy it. That's why the piano is so special to me. It started with one curious little girl pressing random keys in her aunt's living room, and it slowly became an important part of my life. Music can change my mood, help me relax, and give me a way to express feelings that are sometimes difficult to explain with words. But playing the piano isn't my only hobby. I also love something much more active, where instead of sitting quietly in front of a piano, I have to run, jump, and work together with a team. Another hobby that has been an important part of my life is volleyball. It's completely different from playing the piano. When I play the piano, I usually sit alone in a quiet room and focus on music. Volleyball is loud, fast, and full of energy. You have to move quickly, communicate with other people, and pay attention every second. Maybe that's exactly why I enjoy it so much. I first started playing volleyball at school. Our teacher introduced the game during a sports lesson, and at the beginning, I wasn't very good at it. I understood the basic idea: 2 teams, a net, and a ball that shouldn't touch the floor. It sounded simple, but actually playing was much more difficult. The first time I tried to serve, the ball didn't even reach the net. Everyone laughed, including me, and I immediately wanted to try again. During our first games, I often stood in the wrong place. Sometimes the ball came directly toward me, and instead of hitting it, I simply moved away because I was afraid it would hit my face. Once, I tried to receive a very strong ball and somehow sent it in a completely different direction. It flew across the gym and almost hit our teacher. I still remember the whole team laughing. Little by little, I became more confident. My friends and I started playing volleyball after classes, especially when the weather was warm. We didn't train like professional athletes. We simply found a court, divided ourselves into 2 teams, and played for fun. Sometimes we forgot the score because everyone was too busy talking and laughing. Other times, the game became surprisingly serious, and suddenly nobody wanted to lose. My favorite part of volleyball is teamwork. You can't do everything alone. One player receives the ball, another passes it, and someone else attacks. You have to trust your teammates and understand what they're going to do. I love that feeling when 3 people work together perfectly and win a point. It only takes a few seconds, but it feels amazing. Serving was probably the most difficult skill for me to learn. For a long time, my serves were either too weak or completely unpredictable. Sometimes the ball went over the net beautifully, and sometimes it flew somewhere to the side. I practiced again and again, trying to control my movements. Eventually, my serves became much better. I still remember the first time I served several good balls in a row. My teammates looked surprised, and one of them joked, "Emma, when did you learn to do that?" Of course, not every game goes well. Sometimes I make easy mistakes. I miss the ball, serve into the net, or react too slowly. When my team loses an important point because of me, I can feel disappointed. But volleyball has taught me not to think about one mistake for too long. The next point starts almost immediately, so you have to focus and keep playing. I've also learned that winning isn't the most important part. Of course, everyone enjoys winning, and I definitely feel happy when my team plays well. But some of my favorite volleyball memories come from games we actually lost. I remember one very long match with my friends. We were tired, our clothes were covered in dust, and everyone was complaining that their arms hurt. We lost by only 2 points, but after the game, we sat together, drank water, and laughed about all the ridiculous mistakes we'd made. Volleyball is also a great way for me to stay active. I go to work, spend time at home, and sometimes sit for hours reading or watching something. When I play volleyball, I have to run, jump, and move constantly. After a good game, I'm usually exhausted, but it's a pleasant kind of tiredness. I feel like I've used all my energy in the best possible way. I don't play volleyball every day, and I'm definitely not planning to become a professional player. It's simply something I genuinely enjoy. Whenever my friends ask, "Do you want to play this weekend?" my answer is usually yes. I grab comfortable clothes, take a bottle of water, and get ready for a few hours of fun. For me, Volleyball is connected with friendship, movement, and many funny memories. The piano helps me slow down and enjoy quiet moments, while volleyball gives me energy and allows me to be part of a team. I love having both of these hobbies because they show completely different sides of my personality. But sometimes I don't want to play music or run around a volleyball court. Sometimes I just want to stay at home, make a warm drink, and enjoy something quiet. When I don't feel like playing the piano or volleyball, I usually choose something quieter. I think everyone needs hobbies that don't require too much energy. After a long day at work, I don't always want to be active or learn a difficult new song. Sometimes I simply want to sit somewhere comfortable, forget about my responsibilities for a while, and enjoy a good story. That's why reading books and watching movies are also an important part of my free time. I've enjoyed reading since I was young, although my relationship with books has changed over the years. When I was a child, I loved adventure stories because they allowed me to imagine completely different worlds. I could travel to mysterious islands, explore ancient cities, or follow characters on dangerous journeys without ever leaving my bedroom. As I got older, I started reading different kinds of books. Now I enjoy mysteries, dramas, and sometimes romantic stories. It really depends on my mood. I usually read in the evening before going to bed. I make a cup of tea, sit on my sofa, and open whatever book I'm currently reading. Milo often joins me and sleeps nearby while I read. I try to put my phone away because messages and social media can easily distract me. Once I become interested in a story, I can read for an hour without noticing how much time has passed. Sometimes I tell myself, just one more chapter, and then suddenly it's almost midnight. One of my favorite things about books is getting to know the characters. After spending several days or weeks reading about someone, they almost start to feel like a real person. I understand their problems, worry about their decisions, and hope that everything ends well for them. When I finish a really good book, I sometimes feel a little sad because I know the story is over. I close the book and just sit quietly for a minute, thinking about everything I've read. Movies give me a similar feeling, but in a different way. I love going to the cinema, especially with friends. There's something special about sitting in a dark room with a huge screen and forgetting about the outside world for 2 hours. Before the movie starts, we usually buy popcorn and drinks, although I often finish half of my popcorn during the trailers. My friends always laugh at me for that. I enjoy several movie genres, but comedies are probably my favorite when I want to relax. After a stressful week, I just want to laugh and watch something light. I also enjoy mystery films and dramas with interesting characters. Sometimes I watch horror movies, but I have one important rule. I never watch them alone at night. I know it's only a movie, but every small sound in my apartment suddenly becomes terrifying afterward. Of course, I don't always go to the cinema. Most of the time, I watch movies at home. I put on comfortable clothes, prepare a snack, turn off the lights, and choose something to watch. Choosing the movie can sometimes take longer than watching it. I scroll through dozens of options, read descriptions, watch trailers, and then somehow return to a film I've already seen 3 times. I think hobbies are very important because they give us a break from our daily routine. Work, studying, and responsibilities can take a lot of our time and energy. Having something you genuinely enjoy helps you relax and remember that life isn't only about being productive. Sometimes it's perfectly fine to spend an evening reading a book, watching a funny movie, or playing your favorite song on the piano. My hobbies are all very different. Playing the piano gives me a way to express my emotions. Volleyball keeps me active and allows me to spend time with friends. Books take me into new worlds, and movies help me relax after a busy day. I don't think I could choose only one of them because each hobby gives me something special. I also believe it's never too late to try something new. There are still many hobbies I'd like to explore in the future. Maybe I'll learn photography, try painting, or even start learning another musical instrument. You never know which simple activity might become an important part of your life. So, those are some of my favorite hobbies. Now I'd like you to think about your own free time. What do you enjoy doing? Do you prefer active hobbies, or do you like quiet evenings at home? Maybe we even share some of the same interests. Thank you so much for listening to my story today. I hope you enjoyed spending this time with me and practicing your English. Keep listening, keep learning, and most importantly, enjoy the process. I'll see you in the next English podcast. Goodbye.